Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Namaste Mataji,
I will
Dandavat
be
Pranam,
able,
Shaivash Prabhu.
I don't know
Hare
if you
Krishna.
saw my message, but I will attend the class for 1 hour today. It's difficult for 2 hours.
Yeah, sure, Mataji. I didn't see the message. Well, let me. Yeah, it's difficult for everybody, but whatever you can attend, no problem.
Thank you.
Shailesh Prabhu, you're there?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I'm a little in an unusual settings. I'm in
It's a beautiful
in a
setting you're
forest.
in, so it's nice.
I'm in a forest next to the sea, actually, Adriatic Sea. I mean, I wish I could even show you the sea. The sea is just there behind. I don't know if you can see
Oh, Jai.
from here. Yeah, the beach is
Very
just there.
beautiful. Very beautiful.
For some time, I'll be here, so we can start. I'm not sure when exactly I'm going back to India, but let's see. For now, things okay.
Just remind me again, Prabhu, Slovenia or Slovakia you're in?
Croatia.
Sorry, I got it all wrong completely. Thank you.
Slovakia doesn't have a sea. It's in the Central Europe. Croatia is on the south, so it just bordering very close to Italy, close to Slovenia. Actually, that Istria part of Croatia, it's called Istria. It is Pula. It used to be a Roman city a few thousand years ago. Anyway, let us try to go back to a Bhagavad Vicara if we can remember. I checked actually the last class. So we are in the. Am I audible actually properly?
Yes,
I have
Prabhu, yes, audible.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay,
Your video
because
freezes now and then, but that's fine. We can hear you fine.
Chapter 4, text 33. Last time.
Yeah, 34, I think, is the next. I marked it.
Yes.
This grasshopper sound in the forest is kind of very loud. You don't hear it maybe. And then there is the wind, so I'm wondering if I'm audible. But it looks like it's okay. So yeah, I'll think I'll switch the video to save some mobile data because this is just from my mobile going on. And let me see. So in the chapter 4, Hirishiput terrorizes the universe. And we covered first 33 shlokas. So in the first part of this chapter 4, we heard how Lord Brahma, he granted benediction, asked by Hiranyakashipu, that he left. And then it was described how Hiranyakashipu influence spread all over the universe, how he oppressed the demigods, how intoxicated he was with his power, and he was receiving everybody's worship. He took the sacrificial shares of all the demigods. And then it's also described how he was completely uncontrolled senses. This still was dissatisfied in spite of having a whole 3 worlds. How proud he was. And then demigods in distress, they had no choice but to worship the Lord and Lord Vishnu and ask for protection. And Lord pacified them. He told them, "Do not fear. I'm here. I shall stop Hiranyakashipu as soon as he offends his son Prahlad." And then now we just start hearing about the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj in that part of the 4th chapter. And I'll share the screen and we will resume. Just 1 second. Share screen. Okay. So we heard a couple of shlokas where the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj were described, how he was completely, self-satisfied and good character. And in Shloka 33, that he was completely submissive to his gurus. And in the last Shloka that we read, it was 33. We heard how, although he was not an Asura, he was born in a family of Asuras. So this is what happens. The devotee is born in a family of non-devotees. Educated and put in danger, and so on and so forth. Get the controlled senses and life airs. Okay, so we'll continue with the Shloka 33. Om Gyanati Vranasya Gyananjana Shlaka Chakshunamanitaminitas Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shloka 34. Min Mahad Guna Rajan Riyante Kave Duna Pidiyante Yatha Bhagavat Ishvare. For King Prahlad Maharaj's good qualities are still glorified by learned saints and Vaishnavas. All good qualities are all existing in the personality of Godhead. They also exist forever in his devotee, Prahlad Maharaj. This is interesting. It says exist forever in Prahlad Maharaj. The Supreme Lord and also exists forever in Prahlad Maharaj, because both the Lord and the devotee are eternal. By Srila Prabhupada, from authoritative scripture is learned that Prahlad Maharaj is within this material world, the planet Sutala.
Sorry for interrupting you, Prabhuji. Sorry for interrupting you. You're cutting in and out quite a lot at the moment. So.
Oh, is it? Oh gosh.
Oh, that's better. Now it's better. Are you closer to it?
Yeah, I just put my earpiece close to my mouth. Maybe
this is much better. It's perfect now. Thank you, bro. Sorry for trouble.
Okay. Yeah, just please tell me, because it's I don't know. I cannot hear myself.
Yeah, no, it's much better now.
So okay, good. I'll keep this earpiece close to my mouth. Otherwise, there's a lot of kind of distracting sounds around. So, these grasshoppers and the wind and the waves breaking here. Anyway, so from authoritative scripture, it is learned that Vaikuntha Loka, as well as within this material world on the planet Sutala, this transcendental quality of existing simultaneously in different places is another Goloka eva nivasatya kilatma bhuta. The Lord appears in the core of everyone's heart, yet he exists on his own planet Goloka Vrindavan, and devotee as those of the Lord because of unalloyed devotional service. Ordinary living beings cannot be so qualified, but a devotee can be qualified like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not in, but this is a quite interesting quality of existing simultaneously in different places. I think the yogis, by the power of mystic yoga, they can in 7 different forms, and I guess then they can be in 7 different places. But the Lord, he can expand in unlimited forms. Welcome, Gunaraj Prabhu. Hare Krishna. The Lord is and similarly, a devotee can expand in as many forms as he wants in order to accompany the Lord in his pastimes. that the devotees can have forms in Lord Chaitanya's Leela, in Gora Leela, and also in Krishna Leela, at least in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So you can basically exist in two different parts of the world and participate in these pastimes. How it looks like, I don't know, I cannot say, but it's possible by the power of the Lord. So let's say what Vishnu Chakrita commands. 8 qualities of Lord, such as forbearance and inscrutability, are spiritual and situated in Him naturally. Those qualities are glorified by persons with discrimination. These qualities are not fixed in the jiva, but are found in persons related to the Lord. Those qualities are perceived by the wise man's purified senses, starting with the mind. That is the meaning of saying that the qualities are glorified by the wise. Those qualities are explained to be eternal. These qualities have not been covered even now. Till this time they exist uncovered in karma. Though all this time has passed, blood remains with those qualities in Sutala, Vaikuntha, or Mahavaikuntha. That is the meaning. If you can hear me without this earpiece, just I'll unplug my ear headset and then let me see if. Hare Krishna, can you hear me now? Is it different?
It's a little weak.
Sorry.
Yeah, you sound a bit
One
more
second,
distant without that,
you.
but
Or is it worse or better?
Now it's better,
I think
slightly.
Previously?
No, no.
No, it's not better. Okay, then I'll return the headset.
No voice now.
Now, can you hear? Hare Krishna.
Yes, better now.
Okay.
Just
Okay. Thank you.
okay, Pablo.
Okay. We'll continue. Yam sadhu dasi ribhavo isra purvanti kim uthanye bhavadrishaha. In any assembly where there are discourse about saints and devotees, O King Yudhishthir, even the enemies of the demons, namely the demigods, so to speak of you, would cite Prahlad Maharaj as an example of a great devotee. Vishnu Chakrita Pratimanam means an example. In praising a devotee, they would say, this devotee is equal to Prahlad. So Prahlad Maharaj is basically, ideal devotee to which we want to compare. The others, we want him as ideal that we want to strive for, to become like him. Example of great devotee. Unair alam asankye tasya suchate vasudev bhagavati yasya naisargiki ratehe. Who could list the innumerable transcendental qualities of Lal Maharaj? He had unflinching faith in Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, son of Vasudeva, and unalloyed devotion to him. His attachment to Lord Krishna was natural because of his previous devotional service. Although his good qualities cannot be enumerated, Mahatma, purpose. In his prayers to the 10 incarnations. Jadev Goswami says, Keshava Drita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hari. Dharma was with Keshava, Krishna himself. Therefore, when this verse says Vasudeva Bhagavati, one should understand that Prahlad Maharaj's attachment for Nrsimhadev was attachment for Krishna, Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva. Prahlad Maharaj therefore is described as great Mahatma. As the Lord himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, Janamam Prapadate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samadma Sudurlabha. And that's he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. A great devotee of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, is a great soul, very rarely to be found. Prahlad Maharaj's attachment for Krishna will be explained in the next verse. Krishna Graha Grihitatma. Prahlad Maharaj's heart was always filled with thoughts of Krishna. Therefore, Maharaj is the ideal devotee in Krishna consciousness. Vishnu Chandra Thakur, the number of qualities cannot be counted. Thus, who can say enough? Else, let others have good qualities, but the cause of Prahlad's qualities was something else. What was that? They speak well of his greatness. What was that greatness? He had a natural attraction. Or another meaning is the greatness of Prahlad, who had natural attraction for Vasudeva, can only be slightly indicated, since it is impossible to define fully. The next verse says, Krishna Graha Grihitatma. Some say Vasudeva means Nrsimha, others say Vasudeva refers to Krishna, because in Prahlad's prayers in Vishnu Purana, it is said, Avir Bhabuva Bhavan Pitambaradaro Harihi. The Lord wearing yellow cloth appeared. The next verse mentions Krishna also, Krishna Graha Grihitatma. And also it is said later, Govinda Parirambita. Others say that Prahlad first had attraction for Vasudeva and then later for Nrsimha when he appeared. It is mentioned in this verse that he had a natural attraction for Vasudeva. His attraction is not the as is the case others.
Vinraj Prabhu, could you go on mute, please?
Yes, Vinraj Prabhu, please mute yourself. If I can mute him, I'll mute him. Yeah, I muted him. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. Before Lord Nrsimha appeared, on whom Prahlad was meditating. The answer is given here that he was meditating on Lord Vasudeva. And what was the form of Vasudeva? I mean, it's you can say four-handed form of Narayan, but also can refer to Krishna as well. So definitely it was not originally a form of Nrsimhadev that Prahlad Maharaj was meditating, but Prahlad Maharaj he could understand that this form of Lord Nrsimhadev is not different from the form of Lord Vasudeva that he was meditating. It's the same person. It was still his Lord who appeared to protect him. So it's, it's difficult to understand how one person can have so many forms and still be the same person. Sometimes for what was the term, polymorphic monotheism, something like that. Polymorphic, many forms, but it's still monotheism. It's still one God. It's not that we believe in many gods. That is some sort of demigod worship. 37. Nyasta pida ako halo siddha manastaya Krishna graha grihitatma na veda jagadrisham. At the very beginning of his childhood, Lord Maharaj was uninterested in childish plaything. Indeed, he gave them up altogether and remained silent and dull. Since his mind was always affected by Krishna consciousness, he could not understand how the world goes on, being fully absorbed in activities of sense gratification. So, Krishna Graha Grihit Atma. So, Graha means planet, and Vedic astrology or astronomy, there are 9 planets, and they have power to grasp. The graha means to grasp. For example, when the Saturn Mahadasha comes, you cannot avoid all these karmic influences that are brought by Saturn or any other planet. So similarly, when Krishna grasps somebody's consciousness, that consciousness cannot forget Krishna. So Krishna Graha, planet of Krishna, is the strongest of all planets that is influencing the devotees. I think I remember once somebody asked Prabhupada, my Rahu is, so how will I survive? Usually Rahu is considered, malefic planet, and Rahu Mahadasha is considered inauspicious. So devotees who learn something about astrology, with just one kick, Krishna can kick all the Rahus and all the planets. Krishna is much stronger than these grahas. Krishna is the strongest graha, especially in the life of devotee. Of course, this is surrender to Krishna. Yayatamam prapadyante tam sataya bhajamyaham. Okay, so translation, yeah, we read. Purport, Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj is the vivid example in Krishna consciousness. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya, it is said, Sthabhara Jangama Dekhe Na Dekhe Tharamurti Sarvatra Hoy Nij Ishtadeva Spur. The conscious person, although situated in this material world, does not see anything but Krishna anywhere and everywhere. This is the sign of BHagavata. The BHagavata sees Krishna everywhere because of his attitude of pure love for Krishna, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilachanena, Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti, Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam, Govinda Madi Purusham. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seen by the devotee whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shyamasundar, situated within the heart of the devotee. An exalted devotee, Mahatma, who is rarely to be seen, remains fully conscious of Krishna and constantly sees the Lord within the core of his heart. It is sometimes said that when one is influenced by evil stars, he cannot make advancement in any prospective activity. In just the opposite way, Prahlad Maharaj was influenced by Krishna, the supreme planet, and thus he could not think of material world and live without Krishna consciousness. Even if one is an enemy of Krishna, the Mahabhagavat sees him to be also engaged in Krishna's service. Another crude example is that everything appears yellow to the jaundiced eye. See, himself appears to be engaged in Krishna's service. Prahlad Maharaj is a proved Mahabhagavat, the supreme devotee. In the previous verse, it was stated that he had natural attachment. The symptoms of such natural attachment for Krishna are described in this verse. Although Prahlad Maharaj was only a boy, he had no interest in playing. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Viraktir Anyatrata, the perfect Krishna consciousness, is that one loses interest in all material activities. For small playing is impossible. But Prahlad Maharaj, being situated in first-class devotional service, is always Krishna conscious. Just as a materialistic person is also absorbed in thoughts of material gain, a Mahabhagavat like Prahlad Maharaj is always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. Natural attraction described in 6 verses. Though a boy, he gave up childish play. Yeah, rarely you see a boy who gives up a childish play. I never seen in my life some boy who will reject to play and do something serious that adults do. He was like a dull-witted person, since his mind was always concentrated on Krishna, which was not common to others. Yeah, he looked like, insane because he was completely absorbed in meditation on Krishna. So he just walked around, and others, just by observing him, they could think something is wrong with this boy. His mind was not attracted to Krishna like other devotees. His mind was completely overcome by Krishna, who was like an object of greed. Thus, he did not understand the world of material dealings. He understood only that of Krishna. So, in other words, he was completely oblivious of external happenings around him. He didn't know how his bodily functions were going on because he was so much absorbed. Generally, general devotees, they're attracted to Krishna, they have some attraction, but they don't forget, their body and everything connected to it. But Prahlad Maharaj, he was so much absorbed. His absorption was of such intensity that, that everything else, he was not aware of anything else. That's the example of the supreme, the topmost absorption. That's why he's given as ideal devotee. And for him, Lord appeared. So if we achieve so, Lord can appear to, if necessary, to save us. Asina pa haryathan ashna chayana prapibam ruvan namusantani govinda prayaram vitha. Lord Maharaj was always absorbed in thought of Krishna, thus being always embraced by the Lord. He did not know how his bodily necessities such as sitting, walking, eating, lying down, drinking, were being automatically performed. Small child, while being cared for by his mother, does not know how the needs of the body for eating and aggregating are being fulfilled. He is simply satisfied to be on the lap of his mother. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj was exactly like a small child being cared for by Govinda. The necessary activities of his body were performed without his knowledge, as a father and mother cared for their child, Govinda cared for Prahlad Maharaj, who remained always absorbed in thoughts of Govinda. This is Krishna consciousness. Prahlad Maharaj is the vivid perfection in Krishna consciousness. He did not know he's sitting, walking, eating, sleeping, drinking, and talking. Why? He was embraced by Govinda. Just as when old baby is constantly embraced on the left of its mother or father, Prahlad was embraced by the Lord while doing all his activities. Prahlad and no one else saw the So this means that even the followers, even the Prahlad had constant touch. He was completely aware of the Lord's presence, and you could see him. Your Lord present in this pillar, he could see him in the pillar. Chitrapati Vaikuntha, Chitta Shabala Chitta, because of advanced consciousness, he sometimes cries, sometimes laughs, sometimes expressed jubilation, and sometimes sang loud. Minute, I need to go to God.
Prabhu, we can't hear you anymore. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Can anybody else hear, Prabhu, or is it just me?
No, Prabhu. No sound here.
I think he's lost his connection, but the
Maybe some
screen.
internet problem might be there.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, can you hear us? Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can somebody just send him a quick message in case he's talking away and he might.
I sent a message to him.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Prabhu. It's strange. He hasn't lost his connection. It's just I think the audio seems to have gone. He's still logged on.
What?
Yeah,
Hare
yeah.
Krishna.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Great.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah, we lost you some time back, bro.
Oh, I said just give me a couple of minutes. I
Oh,
thought
I'm
that
so sorry. We
you
didn't hear
heard me.
that part. I think that the connection was bad just prior to that. I think so. We didn't hear you say that.
Just many kind of disturbing elements. I thought it will be easy here. You know, there's a wind and this and that. So I have to dress now. Anyway, it's okay. Okay, so we read the verse. Now we'll read the Hare Krishna Subhadra Mataji, welcome.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
So this verse, Hare Krishna Mataji. So this verse further clarifies the comparison of a devotee to a child. If mother is her small child in his bed or cradle and goes away to attend to some family duties, the child immediately understands that his mother has gone away, therefore cries. And cares for the child. The child laughs and becomes jubilant. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, because of showing thoughts of Krishna, sometimes felt separation, thinking, where is Krishna? This is explained by Sri Chaitanya. Shunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me. When an exalted devotee feels that Krishna is invisible, having gone away, he cries in separation. And sometimes when he sees Krishna, just as a child sometimes laughs upon understanding that his mother is taking care of him. These symptoms are called bhava. In the net of devotion, various bhavas, expectations of a devotee are fully described. These bhavas are visible in the activities of a perfect devotee. Vishwanath, just as a child not seeing the mother cries when the mother comes on the ground to the household chores. Prahlad, not seeing the Lord, would think, where has my Lord gone, giving me up? Thinking that way, his mind became troubled. Rudati should be Rodati. When the Lord would appear again, the Lord would say, "Oh, Prahlad, child, why are you crying? Just by not seeing me for a moment?" Then Prahlad, mother, who would embrace him after a long time. He would think, my Lord makes me happy by showing himself to me by his mercy. Thinking that he would be joyful. Tat Chitta Lada. So this is like some sort of inverse Vatsalya Bhava. You know, generally Vatsalya Bhava means devotee thinks Krishna to be his child. But in this case, you have, devotee thinks the Lord and I heard that there are such, devotees who have this sort of bhava towards Krishna in Dwaraka. There's one devotee who aspires to be a son of the Lord Dwaraka that I know of, although generally it's not listed in one of the 5 rasas. And Prahlad is generally mentioned as devotee in Dasya rasa, 7. Okay, 440. Nadati क्वचित् उत्कण्ठो राजो नृत्यते क्वचित् क्वचित् तद्भावना युक्तस् तन्मयो Sometimes upon seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Maharaj would loudly call in full anxiety. He sometimes lost his shyness in jubilation and began dancing in ecstasy. And sometimes he felt oneness and imitated the pastimes of the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj sometimes felt the Lord was far away from him and therefore called him loudly. When he saw that the Lord was before him, he was fully jubilant. Sometimes thinking himself one with the Supreme, he imitated the Lord's pastimes, and in separation from the Lord, he would sometimes show symptoms of madness. These feelings of a devotee would not be appreciated by impersonalists. We must go further and further into spiritual understanding. The first realization is impersonal Brahman. A goal still lies Paramatma, and eventually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipped by the transcendental feelings of a devotee in a relationship of Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, or Madhurya. Here the feelings of touch in the mellow of Vatsalya, filial love and affection. As a child cries when left by his mother, when Prahlad Maharaj felt that the Lord was away from him, he began to cry another day. And like Prahlad sometimes sees that the Lord is coming from a long distance to pacify him, like a mother responding to a child saying, "My dear child, do not cry, I'm coming." Then the surroundings and circumstances begins to dance, thinking, "Here is my Lord is coming." Thus the devotee in full ecstasy sometimes imitates the pastimes of the Lord, just as the imitate the behavior of the jungle animals. However, he does not actually become the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj achieved the spiritual ecstasies described herein by his advancement in spiritual understanding. When Prahlad would see the Lord suddenly appear at a great distance, with intensified longing, the Lord would cry out, "Oh Lord, without seeing you, I get no satisfaction, since you alone are most dear to me." When the Lord would say this, Prahlad in great bliss would become confused and dance without shame. Then when the Lord is out of inspiration, he would lose himself in deep thoughts of the Lord and identify himself as the Lord out of the strength of the Vyabhichari Bhava of Unmada, madness. He would imitate the power when they appeared in this world. So yeah, Prahlad here, this is described how he displayed different sort of Vyabhichari bhavas. There is a sthai bhava, which is permanent bhavas. These are the bhavas that come and go. Sometimes he feels separation, sometimes happiness because of the union, sometimes madness. There are many of these temporary bhavas that devotee who attain prema is experiencing. They are like waves in ocean, unlimited waves in a big ocean. That's why Srila Rupa Goswami included Amrita Sindhu, the ocean of Rasa Amrita, the nectar of rasa. Very difficult even to translate, the word in yellow is the word due to lack of better word to describe rasa. 41.
Prabhu, can I ask? Prabhu, can I ask a question?
Sure, please.
So this is quite a difficult concept to understand thoroughly, isn't it? I mean, because on the one hand, imitating the Lord is an offense, and on the other hand, with the deep graha bhava, it is a sign of the highest form of love. So how do we understand this? Because it's quite a difficult concept to understand how devotees imitating the Lord, as it were, and the Lord's pastimes, because it says here imitating the Lord.
Yeah, he's so much absorbed in Lord's form and activities that 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 he just imitates it, not out of envy, like a demon. He would imitate out of envy. He wanted to become the Lord, to rule over. But this is something completely different. Example of the gopis also imitated, the activities of the Lord, and this imitation comes with deep absorption. And in deep absorption, you just think of Krishna and his activities, and then naturally they perform Krishna Lila, whatever Krishna did, they just perform. Like Krishna killed Pinata demon, one gopi was, like a card, another Krishna became a demon. So in this way, they were just absorbed in Krishna's pastimes, performing different roles in his pastimes, and one of them was Lord. He was so absorbed in the Lord that he did it out of absorption, out of love. So it's a different sort of imitation. It's imitation that brings one closer to the Lord. It's a result of his absorption. So it has nothing to do with the negative connotations of the word imitation that we generally think of, like demons they want to imitate. We are always told to follow, imitate. But following sometimes also includes the imitation, and imitation, in Prabhupada says something, imitation of something good is not bad thing. It's a good thing. When I think he was commenting on some people imitating the hairstyle of the devotees, having shikas or something like that, or dressing as devotee. Because in this way, they are imitating something good, and gradually they attract towards the devotees, and eventually they themselves may become a devotee. But here, imitating Krishna out of absorption and out of love. It's just Yavichari Bhava of his prema, of his pure love of God. And sometimes this prema is expressed in ways that are very uncommon. Sometimes it's expressed as Ulmada, divine madness. So just looking from outside at it, it looks like a madness. It's actually not a madness. It's the greatest, absorption and greatest level of love. So imitating is the word that is used, but it has nothing to do with the material imitation. And here, see, I think Vishnu Chakravarti, he mentions that pastimes of Rama and Krishna, of Lord Nityananda, when he was a boy in Ekachakra with his boyfriends, he imitated the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra and Krishna. They performed different pastimes, Ramachandra going to Lanka, and him being a Lakshman, being wounded and falling unconscious, and he was waiting somebody to bring the special herb, and like this. This is all out of love and absorption, the Lord. And dramas also that devotees perform, they are also sort of imitation. Imitate the pastimes of the Lord in order to increase devotees' remembrance of the Lord, devotees' absorption of the Lord. So like this, I don't know if that addresses the point. Or do you have something else or some other?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Point? Okay, let's continue. Aste Sansparsha Nivrta. Aspanda Pranayanda Salilam Litekshana. Sometimes feeling the touch of the Lord Lotus hand, he became vigilant, remained silent, his hair standing on end, and tears gliding down from his half-closed eyes because of his love for the Lord. Purport. He feels separation from the Lord, he becomes eager to see where the Lord is. And sometimes when he feels pangs of separation, tears flow down incessantly from his half-closed eyes. Yugaitam Nimeshana Jakshusha Pravrishaitam. The words Jakshusha Pravrishaitam refer to tears falling incessantly from the devotee's eyes. These symptoms, which appear in pure devotional ecstasy, are visible in the body of Prahlad Maharaj. Vishnu Chakra Thakur, his hairs would sometimes stand on end. He would think, where shall I go? Where will I see the Lord? Sometimes out of grief, of separation, he would see the Lord in his heart. By the touch of the Lord's hand, he would become blissful, and his hairs would stand on end. He would not have any movements. His half-closed eyes would be expressing his affection for the Lord. Yeah, these are all ecstatic transformations of prema that Prahlad Maharaj exhibited. The genuine symptoms of prema, of love like this. He is purified just by seeing him, because it's such a exalted state. So even just to witness such a personality, one is very, very fortunate. Srila Prabhupada, he generally would not exhibit symptoms externally, but sometimes he just could not stop, because prema has its own rules, and sometimes when the symptoms come, even if one is very much trying to symptoms, no. So sometimes, although rarely, Prabhupada would exhibit some of those symptoms, and devotees were just standing and didn't know what to do. They've just waited for symptoms to subside. I first saw Prabhupada on a video, not not in person, on a video. To me, it was such an awesome scene, because he was singing and his hair, it was singing Shad Goswami Ashtakasani, and hairs of his hair, they were just standing on its end, and it was something really special in that scene. Even just the way he speaks, sings person. Just for a moment. Okay. Nishevaya kinchana sangalabdaya tanvam param nivritim atmano muhur dusanga dinasya mana shamam yada. Because of his association with the Lord devotees, who had nothing to do with anything material, Prahlad Maharaj constantly engaged in the service of the Lord Lotus feet. By seeing his bodily features when he was in perfect ecstasy, persons very poor in spiritual understanding became purified. back? It looks like I was disconnected for a moment. Can you hear me now? Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu, you're back now.
Okay, I think I need to share the screen again because the screen share was disappeared. I'm just on a mobile connection and sharing hotspot from my mobile. And here in the forest, the signal is not very, very good. Okay. So this was just what I was mentioning before. By seeing his bodily features, when he was in perfect ecstasy, persons very poor in spiritual understanding became purified. In other words, Lord Maharaj bestowed upon them transcendental bliss. I remember there was one scene described when Prabhupada was coming to some airport and devotees were waiting for him. And there was some gentleman who was completely awestruck by seeing Prabhupada. I think that he didn't know what to do. He was just, staring at Prabhupada. So definitely he was very much purified by such unexpected meeting of pure devotee at the airport. So similarly, Prahlad Maharaj was purifying those who were around him. Apparently, Prahlad Maharaj was placed in circumstances in which he was always tortured by his father. In such situations, one cannot have an
Prabhu, we can't see your
undisturbed
screen,
mind.
by the way, yeah?
Oh, you cannot see the screen?
No, we can't see the screen.
Let me see. I'll stop sharing. Maybe I'm sharing the wrong screen or something. I'll stop sharing and share again. I shared it. Can I? Okay, let me see. I'm sharing it again.
Yeah, we can
Can
see
you
it now.
see now the
Yeah,
screen?
we can see it now. Yeah.
Okay. So let me see. And we'll add it again. Apparently, Prahlad Maharaj was placed in circumstances in which he was always tortured by his father. In such material conditions, one cannot have undisturbed mind, but since bhakti is unconditional, I had to keep Prahlad Maharaj was never disturbed by the chastisement of Hiranyakashipu. On the contrary, the bodily symptoms of his ecstatic love for the Supreme Personality of God had turned the minds of his friends who had also been born in atheistic families. Instead of being disturbed by the torment of his father, Lord influenced these friends and cleansed their minds. A devotee is never contaminated by material conditions, but persons subjected to material conditions can become spiritually advanced and blissful after seeing the behavior of a pure devotee. So he was in very dangerous conditions. Every day, Hiranyakashipu was trying to kill him in different ways. Even in such adverse conditions, Prahlad Maharaj, he was this is something that is very amazing. Just imagine how easily we get disturbed if just somebody glances at us in a wrong way or tells us something a little harsh. What to speak if every day somebody were to kill us? We'd be okay. Looks like again you lost me. Am I back again?
Yes, Prabhu, you're back.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cannot help it. Somehow the connection sometimes just cuts off on its own and then it comes back after a few seconds. It's just a mobile connection. Yeah, let me share the screen again. Anyway, I was just saying how difficult it would be.
We can't hear you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. We can't hear you.
Oh,
Prabhu,
Hare
if you're
Krishna.
struggling, maybe we can postpone until next week. If you're struggling, Prabhu, we don't want you to kind of get unnecessarily fried on this.
No, I'm not. Just maybe I'm thinking maybe to change my position to get the better signal somewhere, but signal looks like a normal. I don't know what's the problem. Just it's a mobile signal. Yeah, I should have stayed at home instead of coming here. I was thinking not be a problem. Yeah, let's just continue. I think, and hopefully these interruptions will not be so often. Let's see how it goes. At least maybe we don't need to go for full 2 hours, but whatever we can make it. So we finish 1 hour, so at least a little more. Yeah, let's see. So Vishnujari Thakur comments, how could Prahlad have such steady bhakti in the bed of association of Hinkashipu and others? By his association, his boyhood associates were also bad association become successful. Why was there no danger of him having bad association? The minds of those who were bad association became Shama. The Lord said, Shamo man nishtata bude, absorbing the intelligence in me constitutes Shama. The Prahlad made others absorb their minds in the Lord. Okay, continuing 43. Am I screen sharing or not? I don't see.
No,
I'm
you're not
screen
screen sharing, Prabhu.
Oh, I'm not. Okay, let me.
If it's easier for you not to, it's fine. I think most of us have got hard copy. We just won't see Vishwanath Thakur's commentary, but we've got a Bhagavatam here.
Yeah, I think I can share the screen. Just I'm looking where my Zoom is. I don't see this. Everything got a little bit mixed up. Yeah, I don't know even how to share it now. It's just not there. The screen sharing button and oh, okay, share here again. Okay, you should be seeing the screen now. So 43. Tasmi Mahabhagavate Mahabhagye Mahatmani Hinakashipu Rajan Akarot Agam Atmaje. Madhya King Yudhishthir, the demon Hiranyakashipu tormented this exalted fortune devotee, although Prahlad was his own son. When a demon like Hiranyakashipu, despite his elevated position, due to severe austerities, begins to tease a devotee, he begins falling down, and the result of his austerities dwindle. One who oppresses a pure devotee loses all the results of his austerities, penances, and pious activities. Since Hiranyakashipu was now inclined to chastise his most exalted devotee son, Prahlad Maharaj, his opulences began dwindling. So offending a pure devotee is the surest way to lose everything, including the life. So Sri Yudhishthir Uvacha. Now Yudhishthir Maharaj is asking Narayana. Devarsha etat ichhamo veditum tava suvrata yad atma jaya shudhaya itadhat sadave yagam. Maharaj Yudhishthir said, O best of the saints among the demigods, O best of spiritual leaders, How did Hiranyakashipu give so much trouble to Prahlad Maharaj, the pure and exalted saint, although Prahlad was his own son? I wish to know about this subject from you. Purport: to know about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the characteristics of his pure devotee, one must inquire from authorities like Devarshin Harda. One cannot inquire about transcendental subject matters from a layman. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Satam Prasangam Avira Samvido Bhavanti Hrit Khana Rasayana Katha. Only by association with devotees can one authoritatively understand the position of the Lord and his devotees. A devotee like Narada Muni is addressed as Suvrata. Su means good and Vrata means vow. Thus, the word Suvrata refers to a person who has nothing to do with the material world, which is always bad. One cannot understand anything spiritual from a materialistic scholar puffed up with academic knowledge. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktimam abhijnanati. One must try to understand Krishna by devotional service and from a devotee. Therefore, Yudhishthira Maharaj was quite right in wanting to learn further about Prahlad Maharaj from Sri Narada Muni. Yeah, it's interesting here, Prabhupada says that one cannot understand anything spiritual from a materialistic scholar puffed up with academic knowledge. Recently, I got hold of some book on Bhakti Rasa and Raganuga Bhakti written by academic scholar who is analyzing Rupa Goswami's work, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And I tried reading it, but somehow it was very, very dry, and I had to drop it. Although he is, knowledgeable on the subject, he's just analyzing through his dry material logic, and although he's not making any sort of bigger mistakes, still it's I would not recommend that book for reading to devotees. So it's a completely different when a devotee scholar he writes a book, and then maybe he might be using some academic terms and language. It's a different sort of taste of reading that book and reading materialist writing book on Bhakti Rasa or similar. Krishna Chakravarti Thakur, the king asked in great astonishment that what he asked at the end of the first chapter, Hava means from you, Agam means suffering. So yeah, Maharaj Yudhishthira, he was very much perplexed because till now he only heard, the great qualities of Prahlad Maharaj, and then that his own father tried to kill him. There was no apparent reason for this. So now the Muni will explain why Hiranyakashipu wanted to kill Prahlad. Putram vipratikalam svan pitara putra vatsala upalabhante shikshartam naivagam apparo yatha. A father and mother are always affectionate to their children. When the children are disobedient, the parents chastise them, not due to enmity, but only for the child's instruction and welfare. How did Hiranyakashipu, the father of Prahlad Maharaj, chastise such a noble son? This is what I'm eager to know. Yeah, in different cultures, you have different ways of educating children. Generally, in Indian culture, to spank a child a little bit here and there, it's considered okay. Nobody would object it. Of course, in the West now, even if you try, to spank your own child, you might end up in jail, and it can be considered child abuse. But in Indian culture, it's not considered. Recently, actually, in Mayapur, there was some sort of case where a mother hit the daughter something, and then daughter, she ran away from home, and then she was encouraged by the school authorities to report the mother, and big mess issued from that. But somehow later the things settled down, and the child was returned to their parents, who were Indian parents, but they came from America, so that the daughter had somehow the Western values, and she was encouraging these Western values. But never we hear about that, parent goes so far to chastise a child by trying to kill him. Of course, there are some examples even mundane society of child by being killed by their parents, either due to neglect or even intentionally. But this was really extreme example where the father Hiranyakashipu repeatedly, not only once but many times, he tried to kill his own son, and he was not successful. 46. Kim uthanuvashans tadoms tadrishan gurudevatan etad kauti kautilalam brahman asmakadam prabho pittu putraya yadvesho maranaya yojita. Maharaj Yudhishthir further inquired, how is it possible for a father to be so violent towards an exalted son who was obedient, well-behaved, and respectful to his father? O Brahman, O Master, I have never heard of such a contradiction as an affectionate father is punishing his noble son with the intention of killing him. Dissipate our doubts in this regard. Well, Hiranyakashipu, he was affectionate in the beginning, but after that his affection very quickly disappeared and he became inimical. In the history of a human society, an affectionate father is rarely found to chastise a noble and devoted son. Therefore, Maharaj Yudhishthir wanted Narad Muni to dissipate his doubt. Anuvashan means favorable. Kautuhalam means doubt. Please remove this doubt. What hatred of a father would be so intense that he would kill his own son? It must have been some very extraordinary hatred that had some deeper roots. And of course, if we are reminded about the Hiranyakashipu's history, and his hatred for Vishnu, then it's easier to understand. But that will be explained in the next chapter that we are just starting now. Chapter 5, Prahlad Maharaj, saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. So let's see if we can still make it half an hour more, if the connection is good. I'll read the chapter summary. I hope I'm audible. I hope not speaking and nobody hears me. Prahlad Maharaj did not carry out the orders of his teachers, for he was always engaged in worshipping Lord Vishnu. As described in this chapter, Hiranyakashipu tried to kill Prahlad Maharaj even by having a snake bite him and by putting him under the feet of elephants, yet he was unsuccessful. Hiranyakashipu's spiritual master Shukracharya had two sons named Sanda and Amarka, to whom Prahlad Maharaj was entrusted for education. Although the teachers tried to educate the boy Prahlad in politics, economics, and other material activities, he did not care for their instructions. Instead, he continued to be a pure devotee. Prahlad Maharaj never liked the idea of discriminating between one's friends and enemies. Because he was spiritually inclined, he was equal toward everyone. Once upon a time, Nikashipu inquired from his son what the best thing was that he had learned from his teachers. Prahlad Maharaj replied that a man engrossed in the material consciousness of duality, thinking this is mine and belongs to my enemy, should give up his household life and go to the forest to worship the Supreme Lord. When Hiranyakashipu heard from his son about devotional service, he decided that this small boy had been polluted by some friend in school. Thus, he advised the teachers to take care of the boy so that he would not become a Krishna-conscious devotee. However, when the teachers inquired from Prahlad Maharaj why he was going against their teachings, Prahlad told the teachers that the mentality of ownership is false and that he was therefore trying to become an unalloyed devotee of Lord Vishnu. The teachers, being very angry at his answer, chastised and threatened the boy with many fearful conditions. They taught him to do the best of their ability, and then brought him before his father. Hiranyakashipu affectionately took his son Prahlad on his lap, and then inquired from him what the best thing was that he had learned from his teachers. As usual, Prahlad Maharaj began praising 9 processes of devotional service, such as Shravanam and Kirtanam. Thus, the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, being extremely angry, chastised the teachers, Sanda and Amarka, for having wrongly trained Prahlad Maharaj. The so-called teachers informed the king that Prahlad Maharaj was automatically a devotee and did not listen to their instructions. When they proved themselves innocent, Hiranyakashipu inquired from Prahlad where he had learned Vishnu Bhakti. Prahlad Maharaj replied that those who are attached to family life do not develop Krishna consciousness either personally or collectively. Instead, they suffer repeated birth and death in this material world and continue simply chewing the truth. Prahlad explained that the duty of every man is to take shelter of a pure devotee and thus become eligible to understand Krishna consciousness. Enraged at his answer, Hiranyakashipu threw Prahlad Maharaj from his lap. Since Prahlad was so treacherous that he had become a devotee of Vishnu, who had killed his uncle Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu asked his assistants to kill him. The assistants of Hiranyakashipu struck Prahlad with sharp weapons, threw him under the feet of elephants, subjected him to hellish conditions, threw him from the peak of a mountain, and tried to kill him in thousands of other ways. But they were unsuccessful. Hiranyakashipu therefore became increasingly afraid of his son Prahlad Maharaj and arrested him. The sons of Hiranyakashipu's spiritual master Shukracharya began teaching Prahlad in their own way, but Prahlad Maharaj did not accept their instructions. While the teachers were absent from the classroom, Prahlad Maharaj began to preach Krishna consciousness in the school, and by his instructions, all his class friends, the sons of the demons, became devotees like him. Do you remember anybody else, any other devotee who was whom they tried to kill and they were not successful? Anybody else in the Shastra that had a murder attempted on them without success?
Pandavas.
Sorry, Prabhu, what do you say?
Pandavas.
Pandavas, okay. Yeah, I was just remembering Haridas Thakur actually, They beat him 21 marketplaces and then threw him in the Ganga and still he survived. And it's actually mentioned that whether it was Maharaj, Haridas Thakur and Lord Brahma as the same person. I think so. Anyway, let's start reading. Srinadu Vacha Paurohityaya Bhagavan Vrita Kavya Kilasura Shanda Markausatautasya Daityaraja Grihantike. The great Saint Narada Muni said the demons headed by Hiranyakashipu said the Shukracharya is their priest for ritualistic ceremonies. Shukracharya's two sons, Shanda and Marka, lived near Hiranyakashipu's palace. See, even the demons, the asuras, who are envious to Vishnu, they had, the karma kanda priest that is learned in the Vedas that can perform yagyas. So Vedic does not necessarily means, devotional or pious. Even demons, they perform sacrifices, but they are still demons, even if they follow the Vedic culture. So Vedic culture is not necessarily devotional, and Vishnu Bhakti directed towards Vishnu Bhakti. It could be demoniac also. Varnashrama could be demoniac if it's used as the demons are using it. Purport. The beginning of the life story of Prahlad is recounted as follows. Shukracharya became the priest of the atheists, especially in Kashipu, and thus his two sons, Chanda and Amarka, resided near Hiranyakashipu's residence. Shukracharya should not have become the priest of Hiranyakashipu because Hiranyakashipu and his followers were all atheists. A Brahmana should become the priest of a person interested in the advancement of spiritual culture. The very name Shukracharya, however, indicates a person interested in obtaining benefits for his sons and descendants, regardless of how the money comes. A real Brahmana would not become a priest for a theistic son. Who remembers the other episodes where Shukracharya appeared and behaved improperly? This is not the only instance where Shukracharya places. Bali Maharaj, he advised Bali Maharaj not to give charity to Lord Raman, and also there is that story of Maharaj Jayati, where Shukracharya was also present there, and his daughter, I think it was Sharmishta, she was given in marriage to Shukracharya, but then when Yati cheated on her, Shukracharya cursed him to lose his masculinity, and then later he reinstalled his masculinity. So in this way, he was, although he was a highly qualified Brahmana who knew all the science of yagyas and different things, still he was quite materialistic and interested only in his own welfare and sense gratification. So here he, became a priest of a demon. So Vishnacharya Thakur in the 5th chapter, Prahlad, asked by his father about his education, praises Krishna as taught by his guru. He is attacked by elephants and other calamities which were arranged by his father, but remains safe. Narada begins to explain how Prahlad's bhakti was the cause of hatred. Kavya and Shukracharya, the two sons, lived in the palace. Ho ragya prapitham bhalam ladam nava naya kovidam athayam asatha patyan anyam chasura balakhan. Prahlad Maharaj was already educated in devotional life, but when his father sent him to those two sons of Shukracharya to be educated, they accepted him at their school along with other sons of the Asura. See, they had a school for their children. Even demons, they're very much concerned about education of their children and want them to be well equipped for the life ahead. Just yesterday, one devotee was calling me from Australia, and he has 5 years old children, and he is moving to Mayapur in order that his children can go to school. But he cannot decide in which school to put them. There are 2 schools, and he just somehow cannot make up his mind. So he was trying to investigate which school is better. But he was very much, into finding the best school for his children, which is understandable. We want our devoted children to be educated in the best possible way. Yat tatra guruna proktam shushruve nupapha tacha na sadhu manasa mene sab parashad grahashrayam. Prahlad certainly heard and recited the topics of politics and economics taught by the teachers, but he understood that political philosophy involves considering someone a friend and someone else an enemy, and thus he did not like it. So he heard and recited, because the classes were on this politics and economics, but although he heard it, he didn't like it. Well, this reminds me that in my school days also I didn't like many things, but still I had no choice. I had to listen to them and learn them to pass the exams. Politics involves accepting one group of men as enemies and another group as friends. Everything in politics is based on this philosophy, and the entire world, especially at the present, is engrossed in it. The public is concerned with the friendly countries, the friendly groups, or enemy countries, enemy groups. But as stated in Bhagavad Gita, a learned person does not make distinctions between enemies and friends. Devotees, especially, do not create friends and enemies. A devotee sees that every living being is part and parcel of Krishna. Mamaivanshu jiva bhuta. Therefore, a devotee treats friends and enemies equally by trying to educate them both in Krishna consciousness. Of course, atheistic men do not follow the instructions of pure devotees, but instead consider a devotee their enemy. A devotee, however, never creates a situation of friendship and enmity. Although Prahlad Maharaj was obliged to hear the instruction of Sandana Marka, he did not like the philosophy of friends and enemies, which forms the basis of politics. He was not interested in this philosophy. He did not consider topics like punishment and politics proper. Why it completely took shelter of thinking in terms of self and others. Yeah, in the modern day university, you have these political sciences. If somebody wants to study, he can study political sciences. And I don't know what is the exact title when he graduates, but to become a professional politician. But somehow nowadays the politicians, they are exactly as Prabhupada called them, rogues and rascals. they are behaving in such a way that the whole world is in complete chaos. So what can be learned from such persons that are completely dishonest? Ekadasura
Can I
Yes,
ask?
Prabhu.
So that is, of course, it's generally correct, but we see Kshatriya devotees do have to engage in politics and do have to differentiate between friends and enemies, and do have to fight with enemies in order to protect
Yeah.
their kingdom. So that isn't universally true, is it? I mean, I guess Kshatriya devotees can still engage in politics because it's part of their dharma, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. Well, we have examples of Pandavas doing Kshatriya devotees. I don't know how many Kshatriya devotees we have nowadays, at least those who are acting in the role of Kshatriyas. And I don't know how many actually even attempted to engage in politics. There was the one devotee in Prabhupada's time, it was Balavanta Prabhu, and apparently, if I remember well, he was kind of first encouraged for Prabhupada to run for some local elections, but later he dropped it. And Prabhupada generally, he himself, when asked about the voting, he said, "I never voted in my own life because to whom to give vote? You are devotee, and then you have to vote for some people who are meat eaters, who are, completely immoral. So it could be better, good choice, bad choice, or little, better choice. But all in all, it's all bad choice that we have now in modern day politics. One has just to be completely dishonest in order to succeed in that world. It's impossible, to make up your way to the ranks in politics if you're not honest. And you have to associate with these people also. And this is quite some asat sangha. There was one devotee, there is still one devotee, if you heard, in America, Tulsi Gabbard. She was some sort of congresswoman, and she's a devotee. But
Yes,
still,
I was commenting more generally, not
I
necessarily
don't
in
know.
today's world. Today's world, of course, there is no Kshatriya class anyway. But even in
Yeah,
Satyu, there were still demons and rakshasas, and there were still
yeah,
enemies, and there's still kings who were Rajrishis still had to engage in politics and anonymity against such.
Oh yeah.
asuras.
Definitely,
So,
generally, those times, the Kshatriya kings, they had to learn these things. There was a Vedic political science, Artha Shastra. You had to learn this from Shastra, how to make friends and enemies, and yeah, for the Kshatriyas in Vedic times, this was something common to learn, and to the acts of diplomacy, how to negotiate, how to conquer other kingdoms. It's all there, and it's also described in these shastras that one had to learn.
my question
But
was, how does Prabhupada's statements here about devotee treats friends and enemies equally, a devotee, however, never creates situations of friendships and enemies, but we see throughout history, great Rajrishi devotees had to engage in that. Does that mean they're a lower class of devotee, even though they were Rajrishis?
no, I don't
Because
think
they had
so.
to engage in politics.
No, I don't think, the Pandavas, Maharaj Yudhishthira, and such type of devotees, they're never lower class devotees, but they're performing their dharma. And that's, they're still performing in pure Krishna consciousness. And they're not affected by it. They're just performing their Kshatriya dharma, and I don't think they're affected. I don't think this can apply, this statement of Prabhupada can apply to them. This is more or less general statement. Devotees especially do not create friends and enemies. And actually, Maharaj Yudhishthira, he was known as Ajata Shatru, one who had, no enemy. He never considered anybody enemy. He was, even to those Kshatriya kings that he conquered, he was actually friend. He wished them well. And when the all four brothers, they went all over the Bharata Varsha with the horse that was challenging the other kingdoms. All they wanted the other kings to accept the rulership of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Only if they would challenge, they would fight and defeat. They wanted to establish the kingdom of Maharaj Yudhishthira, where the Varnashrama Dharma was followed all over the Bharata Varsha. So whatever Maharaj Yudhishthira and such Raja Rishis perform, it's always because their consciousness is Krishna consciousness. So even if apparently it looks like they might engage in some political activities, in reality, their consciousness is not affected by it. They are friends to everybody. And certainly this can be applied to such Kshatriya devotees. Maharaj Prithu. Oh, there was a Maharaj Prithu also, and he conquered many. And then, of course, Lord Ramachandra. So many were there who were Raja Rishis. But of course, after the Kali Yuga started, these Raja Rishis, they disappeared, and the kings became ordinary kings, like you had kings in England, who just wanted to enjoy and exploit their citizens. Yeah, like that, Prabhu. I don't think it applies, that this sentence applies blank, in a broad way to this, the devotees that you're mentioning. All right, let's continue a little more, just 10 more minutes maybe. Ekadasura Ratputram Ankamaropya Pandava. Oh, here we have Pandava. Papracha Katyatham Vatsa Manyate Sadhu Yad Bhavan. I just now remember the Arjuna, for example, when he was staying at Balaram's place, and when he wanted to marry Subhadra, apparently he behaved in a kind of not so honest way by presenting himself as sannyasi. He's dressed as sannyasi, and then he was coming to Lord Balaram's house for meals, but secretly he wanted, to marry Subhadra. But this cannot be judged externally, that he did something adharmic and dishonest for his own sense gratification, because it was actually Krishna's desire for Arjuna to marry Subhadra. So Arjuna was inspired by Lord Krishna from outside and from within to act in this way. So my dear King Yudhishthira, once upon a time, the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, took his son Prahlad on his lap and very affectionately inquired, "My dear son, please let me know what you think is the best of all the subjects you have studied from your teachers." And Hiranyakashipu did not ask his young son anything that would be very difficult for him to answer. Instead, he gave the boy a chance to speak plainly about whatever he thought might be best. Lord Maharaj, of course, being a perfect devotee, knew everything and could say what the best part of life is. It is the Vedas. In the Vedas, it is said, Yasmin Vigyate Samam Evam Vigyatam Bhavati. If one properly understands God, he can understand any subject matter very nicely. Sometimes we have to challenge big scientists and philosophers, but by the grace of Krishna, we emerge successful. It is impossible, practically speaking, for ordinary men to challenge scientists or philosophers concerning genuine knowledge, but the devotee can challenge them because the best of everything is known to a devotee by the grace of Krishna. It's confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Tisham evanukham partam aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayam yatma bhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata. Krishna, who is situated in the core of everyone's heart as a super soul, dissipates all the ignorance from the heart of a devotee As a special favor, he enlightens the devotee with all knowledge by putting before him the torch of light. Prahlad Maharaj therefore knew the best of knowledge. When his father inquired from him, Prahlad gave him that knowledge. Prahlad Maharaj was able to solve the most difficult parts of problems because of his advanced Krishna consciousness. Therefore, he replied as follows. But Prahlad Maharaj, when was asked this question by Hiranyakashipu, he could, just give him some ordinary answer. He didn't need to give him, you can say, didn't need to tell him about devotional service. He could just quote anything from Sandana Marka, any sort of material knowledge, knowing that Hiranyakashipu will like that. So he could have been diplomatic and told Hiranyakashipu what he wanted to hear. But he didn't do that. He was very straightforward, dangerously straightforward, because this sort of answer actually endangered him. So I don't think this can be imitated. If we were in a similar situation and we know that our answer will enrage the person and put us in danger, I don't think that it would be the good idea to imitate Prahlad Maharaj and tell such things, unless we are so much absorbed in Krishna as Prahlad Maharaj was, and have complete faith that Krishna will protect us. Otherwise, in normal person, who is not on the level of Prahlad Maharaj, he would be better off to be diplomatic here and not enraged, envious person like Hiranyakashipu. Krishna Thakur, the king, thought that his son would be confused if asked about difficult subjects. What you can speak in front of me, what you study well, and no, please speak that. That was the intention of the question. And Prahlad was completely truthful, without a grain of diplomacy. So Shri Prahlad Vacha, Tatsaman Survaradehinam, Sadasamudvignadhiyam Asatgrahat, Itvatmapatam Griham Andakupam, Vanangato Yadharim Ashrayeta. This is the famous verse. Prahlad Maharaj replied, O best of the Asuras, king of the demons, as far as I have learned from my spiritual master, any person who has accepted a temporary body and a temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety because of having fallen in a dark well where there is no water but only suffering. One should give up this position and go to the forest. More clearly, one should go to Vrindavan, where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent, and should thus take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is Srila Prabhupada's expanding purport. Of course, nowhere in the verse Vrindavan is mentioned, just Vana, the forest. But Acharyas explained that for us, for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, it means the forest means actually Vrindavan. So Prabhupada is incorporating that in his translation. Purport. Hiranyakashipu thought that Prahlad, being nothing but a small boy with no actual experience, might reply with something pleasing but nothing practical. Prahlad Maharaj, however, being an exalted devotee, had acquired all the qualities of education. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavata kinchana sarvair gunais tatra samasate suraha. However, bhakti mahad guna manorate nasati dhavato bahi. One who has unflinching devotional faith in Krishna consistently manifests all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods. However, he who has no devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no good qualification because he is engaged by mental concoction in material existence, which is the external feature of the Lord. So-called educated philosophers and scientists who are simply on the mental platform cannot distinguish between what is actually sat, eternal, and what is asat, temporary. The Vedic injunctions is asato ma jyotirgama. Everyone should give up the platform of temporary existence and approach the eternal platform. The soul is eternal, and topics concerning the eternal soul are actually knowledge. Elsewhere it is said, apashyatam atmatattvam griheshu grihamedinam. Those who are attached to the bodily conception of life and who does stick to the life as a grihasta or householder on the platform of material sense enjoyment cannot see the welfare of the eternal soul. Lord Maharaj confirmed this by saying that if one wants success in life, he should immediately understand from the right sources what his self-interest is and how he should move his life in spiritual consciousness. One should understand himself to be part and parcel of Krishna and thus completely take shelter of his lotus feet for guaranteed spiritual success. Everyone in the material world is in the bodily conception, striving hard for existence, life after life. Lord Maharaj therefore recommended that to stop this material condition of repeated birth and death, one should go to the forest. In Varnashrama system, one first becomes a brahmachari, then a grihastha, vanaprastha, and finally a sannyasi. Going to the forest means accepting vanaprastha life, which is between grihastha life and sannyas. Just to mention here before I forget, somehow this vanaprastha life is not given appropriate importance in ISKCON especially. I remember once listening a seminar of Jananda Maharaj many years ago on vanaprastha life. He was trying to encourage devotees to prepare for this stage of life, not just to stay full-on grihasthas till the end of life, but somehow, brahmachari, grihastha, sannyasi, these are kind of three main ashrams that we think and hear about, and vanaprastha is a little bit neglected, but it should not be so. As confirmed in Vishnu Purana, Varnashrama charavata purushena parapuman Vishnu aradhyate. By accepting the institution of Varna and Ashrama, one can very easily elevate himself to the platform of worshipping Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, if one remains in the bodily conception, one must rot within this material world, and his life will be a failure. Society must have divisions of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. For spiritual advancement, one must gradually develop as a brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasi. Lord Maharaj recommended that his father accept vanaprastha life because he's a grihastha. As a grihastha, he was becoming increasingly demoniac due to bodily attachment. Lord recommended to his father that accepting vanaprastha life would be better than going deeper and deeper into griha andakupam, the blind well of life as grihastha. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we therefore invite all the elderly persons of the world to come to Vrindavan and stay there in their entire life, making advancement in spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness. So everybody who is approaching the end of life is advised to retire to Vrindavan. Could be also other holy places like Mayapur. I remember in the Mayapur management there were some talks about, even at GBC level, some talks about building a retirement home for devotees who want to retire, but still nothing has manifested. But there are such ideas, and it's certainly something that is needed because one does not want to stay entangled in family affairs till the end of life. This is the whole point. At least last few years, 10 years or whatever years are left, one should completely dedicate himself in order to ensure that next life he'll be elevated if not liberated. And Vishnu Thakur, Prahlad understood his intention, and considering the question, what thing do you think is the best in the world among all those things learned? He gave his opinion. Since you asked me, please hear the correct answer. O best of the demons, I think it is best that those whose minds are disturbed by false absorption in me and mine, asagrahat, should give up their house, the cause of degradation of the self, and having gone to the forest, I think the best thing is that they should take shelter of the Lord. While one is still in the house, one should give up attachment to the blind well and then go to the forest. Otherwise, even if one goes to the forest, one will remain taking shelter of the blind well. So going to the forest or the dham is recommended for retired persons. But that doesn't mean that we come to the dham and we carry on the same activities as previously. Then doesn't make any difference if we don't spiritualize our activities. We want to retire in order to increase our sadhana, to increase our shravanam and kirtanam, not to engage in business or any sort of other making schemes. Nowadays, somehow the devotees who come to Mayapur, they think they're still in their old place in the West or wherever they were, and they still trying to perform some economic development programs. I knew one devotee who actually retired. He was already age of retired. He was above 60. And still he was doing some stock trading, stocks, shares trading. And he was teaching many others devotees and teaching them to do, kind of coaching them. And he was very much into it. And these devotees, they were also very much into it. But many of them, they were losing and they were getting angry at him. And then what happened, that devotee, one day he just had a heart attack and he passed away on a spot. So I don't know what he was thinking about at the moment of that, but definitely it's not advised to do your previous profession when you retire and come to the Dham. You come to the Dham in order to completely dedicate yourself to Krishna consciousness. But because we are so much attached to our old ways of doing things, and we are so much conditioned, we feel bored if we just sit in a dham and we don't know what to do. So let me do what I was doing before. But this is not the purpose of retirement. This is not the purpose of Vanaprastha ashram. Okay, if anybody has anything else, otherwise we'll stop here. And then, as I remember, continue next Thursday. The same time, Shailesh Prabhu, you said Thursday. Is there?
That'd be fantastic, Prabhu. Thank you for that, if that's okay with you.
Okay, sorry for not having the best
No, thank
connection
you.
for this.
I just wanted to add a little bit on the Vanaprastha theme. We here in London have a sangha and a pronounced development of Vanaprastha life, so that people can approach it, plan it, enter the Vanaprastha properly. So there is quite a lot of development. We had Jayadvaita Swami talk about. He's actually writing a book on this ashram, and as you rightly said, it's the one ashram that has had the least amount of focus in ISKCON so far, but actually is one of the most important if you're planning because you have to plan for it in advance. You almost have to plan for your as soon as you enter your Grihastha ashram, so that you map out your life and priorities to that point where you can give up everything again.
Nice.
But interestingly, though, of course, the older concept of the Vedic concept of Vanaprastha isn't quite in line with Prabhupada's mission, because when you come into Vanaprastha, you actually end up becoming busier in your preaching activities. So you don't go to the forest and retire and cut off from the rest of civilization. We're actually supposed to go out there and start preaching even harder. So it's a little contrary in terms of how we end up having to go into Vanaprastha in ISKCON, I guess, to how the Vedic definition is.
Yes, correct. But it's not that everybody could become a preacher. So those who cannot, they at least can dedicate themselves, to Shravan Kirtanam or deity worship, or just try to be conscious in some way. This is the whole purpose, to focus the mind exclusively on Krishna and the end of life, whether it's through preaching, which is the best way, but if it's that not possible, other ways also okay. Not that everybody is born or talented to be a preacher, and somebody's health might not also allow that at old age. And then you need the facility for these people. That's why retirement home in the Dham will be something very, very much welcome. But it's nice to hear they have such initiatives in London, and the devotees are becoming aware of these things. Waiting to see that Jadvaita Maharaj's book to come out. He's certainly the right person.
Actually, he's really structuring his on this particular ashram quite well. So it'll be really nice when it comes out, actually. So yeah, we're looking forward
he's the
to
right person. He's the right person to write it. Because he gave that seminar about, what was it, the hopes and horrors of the Grihastha life. And I remember the only hope that he mentioned was to get out of it. And get out means, and the get out means to go to the Vanaprastha life. That you survive it and then you go to the Vanaprastha life. It was hope, according to him, as he put it. Everything else was a horror. Of course, I'm making it a little bit funny, but
and also the reality is that in, I guess, particularly if within the kind of the Prabhupada's mission perspective of life, Vanaprastha will be the last ashram that most will go into. It's unlikely that most people will go into sannyas, really, because sannyas in the formal context of the word is a very rigorous process requiring GBC involvement and all the rest of it. So it's more than likely that most people will go into Vanaprastha and depart the world in that ashram, not having gone into sannyas, I guess.
Correctly, yeah, because it's very difficult now to go to the GBC procedures of becoming sannyas. It's more difficult than anything, and there is actually no really necessity for that. It's not that one guarantees going back to Gadya just be becoming sannyasi. It doesn't guarantee anything. So yeah, Vanaprastha is for the most devotees is the last ashram. So yeah, let's see if we make it till then. Thank you all very much, and I'll see you on next Thursday, 6. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.